What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good Saturday and good weekend. I'm back with a new Year in Wrestling Reloaded show. Check out my first series of Year in Wrestling shows where I covered the first year I started watching wrestling, 1987, all the way up to 2015. These shows are the Year in Wrestling Reloaded, where you'll get me reviewing Saturday night main events, which I did not review in my first year in wrestling videos. So I will review the October 25th, and I'm looking up because I'm it on my TV screen, the internet. So I'll be looking up a couple times to read the results of these shows. Anyways, I'll review Saturday night main events because I didn't do that in the first year in wrestling. And I'll also talk about a little bit about Clash of the Champions, which debuted in 1988. And I'll give you the PWI winners from 1988. And I'll give you the attendance numbers from 1988 of the big pay-per-view events. So up first, I'm going to talk about how Jim Crockett Jr., I believe in 1988 by Starrcade 88 was, I believe it was the time where, I'm just checking these papers here, these notes of mine, see if I have anything written down that I want to mention so I don't forget. So I believe by Starrcade 88, Ted Turner was the boss, and Turner Home Entertainment took over, and Ted Turner started not running it, but he put people in place, and he bought out Jim Crockett Jr. because I believe the guy would have went bankrupt or broke. And I just want to say Ted Turner might get, I don't know if he gets hatred towards him for being the owner of WCW, but I just want to say Ted Turner, God bless Ted Turner. Because if it wasn't for Ted Turner, there would have been no WCW for years and years and years into the 90s and late 90s. So Ted Turner, that guy, if anybody ever meets him in person, I know I'm not going to see him, but that guy deserves a big thank you from wrestling fans because Ted Turner saved WCW, saved the NWA, put more money into them. And sadly, Ted Turner kept losing money every single year until like 95, 96 when they started making a profit. But Ted Turner, that guy deserves to be thanked by wrestling fans. Ted Turner was not the enemy. Ted Turner was good. Ted Turner was really good for the wrestling business. That's my opinion. Jim Crockett Jr., that guy was really, go back on the WWE Network, watch Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, watch NWA episodes. Every time that guy would appear on camera, he looked scared, well, first off, he shouldn't have been on camera because the guy couldn't talk and the guy couldn't even sell his own product. He was just, Jim Crockett Jr. was awful on camera. Just like he wasn't that good at running the NWA either. best thing he did was put Dusty Rhodes in power and make Dusty the booker. But I compare Jim Crockett on TV to Dixie Carter. That's how bad he was. But I will say, Jim Crockett Jr., he knew way more than Dixie Carter ever knew about wrestling. He knew way more than Dixie Carter ever did. So anyways, I will say, and everybody out there should admit it, Jim Crockett Jr., the guy looked like a deer in headlights. He looked lost on camera, but he was definitely better than Dixie Carter. And I know they're from different eras, but so what? So now I'm going to talk about Dusty Rhodes in 1988. At the end of 1988, he was fired. I believe he was fired from the NWA. Right before Starrcade, I believe he was fired. I don't know who fired him. Could have been Jim Crockett Jr. I don't know who fired Dusty. But they got pissed off because Dusty got blood on TV. Right before Starrcade, the Road Warriors turned heel. That was weird. That did not fit in 1988. The Road Warriors being heels. That was weird. And I don't want to boo them. But anyways, the Road Warriors turned heel on TBS. And they attacked Dusty Rhodes. He had a white dress shirt on. And Animal twisted off one of their spikes from their shoulder pads. Animal, I really remember it. I have it burned in my brain of this storyline and moment. So Animal twists off a spike. And the spike, I believe, was real. Looked legit to me. So anyways, and then he sticks in Dusty's eyes. He's stabbing Dusty in the eye, digging in Dusty's eyes, obviously. Dusty wasn't getting stabbed in the eyeball, or else he would have lost his sight for good. It was just a wrestling storyline to get heat on the Road Warriors. Stabbing Dusty in the eye, I believe, is Dusty's idea. And then Dusty, of course, he had to bleed. He got a spike stabbed in his eye. Of course, you would bleed from that. So I guess, I don't know, somebody got upset that Dusty either bled or they were upset that Animal was stabbing him in the eye, and they said, whose idea was that? That was not what you were supposed to do. You weren't allowed to do that. And I guess Dusty took the credit for it. He said it was all me, and they fired him. And then, of course, he debuted in the WWF in '89. But just, if Dusty, I don't know if it's true. I think it is. But if that's true, that Dusty was fired, I believe Dusty's even admitted in an interview somewhere that he was burned out anyway from being the booker. Because I believe he's booker from 80, I don't know when he became the head booker of NWA, but I believe he's booking from 85, 86 all the way to 88. Maybe even 84 he booked. I don't know. Might even booked at the end of 83. But if Dusty was fired for coming up with that, that was a great story and a great idea to have the Road Warriors stab him in the eye and dig us their spike in his eye. It would get the Road Warriors heat. But obviously someone didn't like it, and maybe Dusty didn't tell them before he did it. So anyways, now I'm going to review. By the way, I thought it was really, if that's true, or maybe it's just a wrestling rumor, because wrestling rumors go together like peanut butter and jelly. So maybe it was never true. Dusty was fired for having Animal and the Road Warriors stab him in the eye with their spike. Maybe he just wanted to be released and they released him. But anyways, Dusty should have never been fired for that. I thought that's wrong to fire someone to come up with a violent storyline. And to be attacked violently, you shouldn't be fired for that. And that's a cop-out. That's bullshit. I don't buy that wrestling is a children's show. No, it's not. It is not a children's show. Look at the ratings. Look at the demographics. Look at the audience. I would say 75 to 80 to 90% of WWE's audience is adults. 18 to 49. I guarantee you that. Or teenagers. So anyways, now I'm going to review. I'll talk about the first star. Not the first Starcade. That happened in 83. Where's my head at? I'm pretty tired right now. Anyways, the first Clash of Champions. March 27th, 1988. I might have talked about this already. My first part of Year in Wrestling Reloaded, 1988. If I did, I apologize. But the first Clash of Champions went up against WrestleMania 4. And they got a big rating. They got a really big rating on TBS. I believe the rating was like a 8, a 9, or 11. So 9 or 11 million people watched the first Clash of Champions over WrestleMania. So I'll just say the first Clash of Champions was, the main event was epic. It was Sting and it was Ric Flair in a 45-minute time limit draw. It made Sting a star. Ric Flair made Sting a superstar, just like that snap of a finger. Made the Stinger a huge star in the NWA. And obviously, Ric Flair could see that Sting was going to be the future of the company and a future world champion. And Ric Flair promised to give Sting the world title. And he didn't screw Sting. He didn't go behind his back and stab him in the back. He promised Sting a world title run. Flair promised Sting he'd put him over, and he did. 2 years later at Great American Bash, 1990. But Sting and Ric Flair wrestled to a draw at the first Clash of Champions. If you're a newer fan and you weren't alive, go on the network and watch Sting, Ric Flair, Clash of Champions 1. Really, really good match. So now I'm going to talk about Clash of Champions 2, which happened on June 8th, 1988. The main event was Dusty Rhodes and Sting challenging the NWA Tag Team Champions Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, and it was a disqualification. I'm not going to talk about the other matches because I already might have in my first year in wrestling. So they did 2 more Clash of Champions in 1988. They did 4 of them in 1988. Clash of Champions 3 took place September 7th, 88. Main event was Sting defeating Barry Windham by disqualification. Clash of Champions 4 took place December 7th, 88. The main event was one of the matches. You had Road Warrior Animal taking on Dusty Rhodes. That was weird because I know the Road Warriors were heels and they were booed for attacking Dusty, but the Road Warriors, to me, never should have been heels. Anyways, Road Warriors had such a great look. how could you boo them? They looked awesome. They looked like monsters, killers in the ring. Main event of Clash of Champions 4, which I believe took place right before Starrcade. Barry Windham and Ric Flair defeated the Midnight Express. I don't remember the match, but I remember a little bit of it. I believe it was a good tag match. That's what I remember. So when was I don't know the date of Starrcade, 88. So anyways, I'm not going to talk about Starrcade 88 because I already reviewed it in my first year in wrestling show. So now I'm going to review the October 25th, 1988 Saturday night's main event. Again, watch one of my year in wrestling videos on my playlist of year in wrestling. watch it. It's either I believe it's part 2 or 3, where I review Starrcade 88. I'm not going to review Survivor Series 88 either, because I already reviewed that. And both shows were good. What show did I like better in 88 as a kid? WWF Survivor Series 88, because that's all I got to see as a kid. A lot of WWF, a lot of WWF pay-per-views. I didn't get to see NWA much at all until like 1989 when I got cable finally as a kid. So anyways, October 25th, 88, Saturday night's main event. Up first, we had Jake and if I already reviewed this in the last video, I apologize. Jake the Snake Roberts with his wife, Cheryl Roberts, defeated Rick Rude by disqualification. It was the longest match of the show, 7 minutes, 22 seconds. For the tag team titles, WWF tag team titles, Demolition with Mr. Fuji and Jimmy Hart by their side took on the Hart Foundation, which just turned babyface. I believe they were already baby faces by right before the summer. They were baby faces because they turned on Jimmy Hart because I believe he's ripping them off on taking more of their money as the manager of the team. So that was a great idea to turn the Hart Foundation babyface because they were heels from like late 85, 86, 87. They were heels for like over 3 years. So Demolition defeat the Hart Foundation. I don't know how it could be a good match. I'm sure it was decent, but it was only 5 minutes, 58 seconds. Maybe I'll watch it back on the network because I don't even remember if it was any good. But Demolition, Hart Foundation, 2 very good teams, 2 top tag teams in the 80s. They never had bad matches with anybody, so I'm sure it's decent, even though it was 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes. You had 5 matches on this Saturday night's main event. Up next, you had Hulk Hogan defeat Haku with Bobby Heenan. Haku was a member of the Heenan family. That match is only 6 minutes, 16 seconds. Dino Bravo with Frenchie Martin defeated Ken Patera. 3 minutes. Pathetic. Very short. And Dino, by 1988, Dino Bravo was a great worker when he was younger, but by 88, the guy was blown up on the juice, on the roids, probably abused them. He wasn't that great of a worker anymore. Sadly, but Dino Bravo was very good. Late 70s, early 80s. I still can't get over every time I think of Dino Bravo. Every time I see him on the network, all I can think of is that guy was murdered, mafia style, shot up. He was sitting in a chair, like a chair I'm sitting in. He was shot to death a lot of times. He was shot in his living room. Very sad because he had a wife and he had a young kid. I believe he had a young kid when he was murdered. And he was doing illegal activity. I believe he was selling cigarettes illegally, and he was in with the mob. He knew mobsters. It was not good. And everybody, from all the interviews I've heard about it, Dino Bravo was not making a lot of money anymore in wrestling when he was murdered, so he went to selling illegal cigarettes and working with the mob because he wanted to keep making big money. And a lot of wrestlers said Dino Bravo wanted to live like he was rich. His lifestyle was spending a lot of money that he didn't have anymore. So that's probably why he started working with the mob. At least I believe he did. I believe he worked with the mob and wherever he was living. I think it was Quebec. I think he was living in Quebec, Montreal, Quebec, somewhere in Canada. So, Big Boss Man, the main event, the final match, Big Boss Man with Slick defeating Jim Powers. 2 minutes, 34 seconds. Now I'm going to go on to the next Saturday night's main event. And there were 2 more. One in November, one in December, 88. Saturday night's main event from November 26th. So right around Thanksgiving, 88. You had 5 matches booked again, and only one of the matches was 8 minutes. The rest are under 4 minutes. Sad. But maybe this was must have been only an hour episode on NBC then. Up first, Ultimate Warrior defending the Intercontinental title against the Super Ninja. Stupid generic gimmick was a Super Ninja. I believe they even had a Super Ninja in the AWA at the same time. Super Ninja was managed by Mr. Fuji. Nobody cared who the hell he was under the mask. Warrior just destroyed him in 2 minutes. Hercules defeated Virgil with Ted DiBiase in about 3 minutes. Randy Savage defending the WWF Heavyweight Championship. Macho Man Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah. Macho Man defending that title against Andre the Giant. And it ended in a double disqualification. Andre did not like Macho Man. That's well documented. I think it's pretty funny. He didn't like Macho Man. He also didn't like Big John Studd. And Big John Studd thought Andre wanted to kill him in the ring. Andre would have never killed another wrestler because he was a professional. Even though he could be an angry, nasty, mean giant, he wasn't going to kill another wrestler. Big John Studd was just intimidated and probably scared. I'm sure Big John Studd, the guy seems like he was a really nice guy. I'm sure Big John Studd respected Andre backstage and called him boss, stuff like that, but Andre didn't care. Andre probably didn't like it that he was kind of a giant too. So up next we had, I don't believe in that story of the Andre the Giant HBO documentary that Andre did not like Macho Man because he had baby oil all over him. I don't believe that's true. I heard Andre didn't like Macho Man because Macho Man didn't give him respect, and Andre thought Macho Man was in it for fame and didn't care about the business enough. Or that's what Andre thought. That Macho Man, that Randy Savage was in wrestling to just make a lot of money and become famous. So up next, we had in a flag match, which was pathetic because it only was 2 minutes, 27 seconds. How can you have a good flag match in 2 minutes? You can't. Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeated Boris Zukov. Boris Zukov, one half of the Bolsheviks. He was also in AWA. I thought Boris Zukov was always a lousy wrestler. Sorry, he was. At least Hacksaw Jim Duggan could work, and the guy was pretty over. Final match. Fabulous Rougeau brothers, two great workers, and a great tag team. Jacques and Raymond with Jimmy Hart. By the way, when the Fabulous Rougeau started coming out with American flags, I believe in '89, and they got a new theme song, All American Boys. That was great stuff. That was damn entertaining. Fabulous Rougeaus defeated the Young Stallions, Paul Roma and Jim Powers. By the way, Paul Roma, I heard in an interview from last year, Paul Roma said he did not get along with Jim Powers because the guy was a drunk and an alcoholic and came to the arena messed up all the time. And when he would go out with them and have tag matches or backstage, Paul Roma said Jim Powers always stunk of alcohol. That's a pretty funny story. Anyways, next Saturday night's main event. It was taped on December 7th, 88, didn't air till 89, so I'm not going to talk about the next Saturday night's main event. I'll talk about that in my 1989 Year in Wrestling Reloaded. That would be Saturday night's main event 19 or 15, 16, 17. Saturday night's main event 19 happened on January 7th, 89. Now I'm going to talk about the attendance numbers. The attendance numbers for 1988 for the NWA and WWF. Maybe even the AWA will be listed. Who knows? So here we go. 1988, you had, 7. You had 7 wrestling pay-per-views in 1988, one from the AWA, which was a mess. First, you had the Buckhouse Stampede in February or January 88 from Uniondale, New York, Nassau Coliseum. It only drew 6,000 fans. 6,000. Not bad, but not that good. But the NWA wasn't that over on the East Coast anyway, except in Baltimore. So 6,000 for the Buckhouse Stampede. Up next to WrestleMania 4, Atlantic City, New Jersey. I'm not going to mention where it was at because that guy doesn't deserve to be mentioned. That guy deserves to be in jail, and hopefully he goes to jail. So Atlantic City, New Jersey, WrestleMania 4 drew 14,000 fans. It probably was a sellout. Great American Bash 88 from Baltimore Arena, Baltimore, Maryland, drew 14,000. I believe it was a sellout. SummerSlam 88 from Madison Square Garden, the first ever SummerSlam, drew 20,000 fans. Survivor Series 88, Richfield Coliseum, Richfield, Ohio, drew 13,500 fans. Now, this is sad. Get ready for this. The AWA Super Clash 2 from Chicago. 1,672 fans in Chicago. Sad. Very sad. AWA was already dead, basically, after 87 anyways. So, good for the AWA for trying to get on. They got on pay-per-view, but it was too late. Too little, too late, Vern. You were way behind the times. And you didn't want to accept what Vince did and what sports entertainment, what wrestling was becoming. You should have changed with the times, Vern. But you didn't want to listen to anybody. Man, for a pay-per-view in Chicago, 1,672. That's probably the lowest attended pay-per-view in the history of wrestling. So, Starrcade 88, the final pay-per-view of 1988, from the Scope in Norfolk, Virginia, drew 10,000 fans. So that was the attendance for the 1988 wrestling pay-per-views. Now I'm going to give you the PWI awards for 1988 Wrestler of the Year. I might have already read these awards in my year in wrestling, but I'll do it again for Reloaded. So Wrestler of the Year 1988 was Randy Macho Man Savage. Ooh, yeah. That's great. I agree with that. Runner-up was Jerry Lawler. Second runner-up, Lex Luger. Third runner-up was Ric Flair. And by the way, Ric Flair should have been put over Lex Luger, because Flair was always better than Luger. So now we go to Tag Team of the Year. Tag Team of the Year. How do you know I have on this piece of white paper, I have a countdown show, a future countdown show written down on it. Top 5 worst WWE champions of all time. I still haven't done this show, but it is a countdown. Maybe I'll do it sometime this year. Or 2019. Tag Team of the Year for 88 was the Road Warriors. I agree with that. You also could have gave it to Demolition. Road Warriors, runners-up. The Midnight Express, second runners-up. Demolition, third runners-up. Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. Great team in 88. Match of the Year. Match of the Year in 1988 was Andre the Giant Hulk Hogan from the main event in February. It wasn't a great match. It was decent. For a Hogan-Andre match, it was decent. But it was not a match of the year. But it did get one of the biggest ratings ever for a WWF show. Runner-up was Sting, Ric Flair, I believe from Clash of the Champions. Second runner-up was Jerry Lawler, Kurt Hennig. Third runner-up, Ultimate Warrior, Honky Tonk Man from, I believe, SummerSlam 88. That was not a match of the year, by the way. That was a squash. Feud of the Year. Feud of the Year in 1988, according to PWI, was Ric Flair, Lex Luger, runner-up. Rick Rude, Jake Roberts. That was a great feud. Second runner-up, Kerry Von Erich, Jerry Lawler. They had a good match at Super Clash, but I don't know how good their feud was. Third runner-up for Match of the Year was the Mega Powers against the Mega Bucks at SummerSlam 88. Most popular wrestler of the year was Randy Savage. Runner-up, Hulk Hogan. Second runner-up, Sting. Third runner-up, Lex Luger. Most hated wrestler of the year, Andre the Giant. First runner-up, Barry Windham. Second runner-up, Eddie Gilbert. Third runner-up, Ted DiBiase for most hated wrestler of the year. I believe it was for most hated. Most improved wrestler of the year went to Sting. I agree with that. First runner-up was Ultimate Warrior. I don't agree with that. He shouldn't have even been on the list. He was shit. I guess these were voted on by fans. Maybe. I don't know. Or PWI workers on their magazine voted on these. Ultimate Warrior was not improved in the ring ever in his career. He never got improved ever. That's a joke. Second runner-up for most improved was Iceman King Parsons. Third runner-up, Jeff Jarrett. Inspirational wrestler of the year was Jerry the King Lawler. Runner-up, Kerry Von Erich. Second runner-up, Road Warrior Animal. Third runner-up, Jake the Snake Roberts. Rookie of the year was Medusa. She was in the AWA when she debuted and started her wrestling career. First runner-up was Chris Benoit. That's kind of surprising to see him on a list in 88. I think he debuted in 87 or 86. Second runner-up, Max Payne. I didn't know the guy was wrestling in the late 80s. And he was a lousy wrestler too. Max Payne a little bit better than Ultimate Warrior. Third runner-up in 88 for Rookie of the Year. Third runner-up was Scott Steiner. I believe he debuted in 88 in the AWA. I saw him in the AWA actually in 88. Comeback of the year that was not voted on in 88. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this part 2, the final part of the year 1988. This was Year in Wrestling Reloaded 1988 part 2. Have a great weekend. Bye for now and peace.